Musical Talk.
You shall go to the ball, Cinderella. I'll take you for a ride.
Yes, you shall go to the ball, lucky fella. Your carriage waits, just step inside.
I don't do tricks with pumpkins, nor no horses from white mice. But who needs veg and vermin when you've got me for half price?
Well, hello, we are at Jackson Lane rehearsal space / church place, and I'm here with two voices, probably been on the podcast so many times, which have given their own presenters billing and our imaginary payroll. I'm here with Anthony Drewe and George Stiles. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello
How
again.
are you?
We're very well, thank you. Tell us what we're here doing, or what you're here doing.
We're doing an interview at the moment for Musical Theatre podcast.
That's what we're doing. There's also a little show rehearsing here, apparently. Soho Cinders, it's called.
I think we met a year ago-ish to talk about the concert production of Soho Cinders.
Yes, that was last October, wasn't it?
And tell us how it's developed since then.
It hasn't. Exactly the same.
No, it's very interesting actually, because we, as you probably know, we did the concert to raise money for the Teenage Cancer Trust, which I've been supporting for a couple of years. By necessity, we included a narrator character because it was a concert presentation. It wasn't a fully staged version of the show. And in the same way that we fell in love with the narrator convention with Peter Pan when Sheila Hancock did it at the Festival Hall, and we then made the narrator a character, we have done the same thing here. We've included the narration, and we have devised the show so it's a bit like Pineapple Dance Studios, where it's got rather a dry voiceover linking the scenes together. So like Michael Burke did it for the Pineapple Dance Studio, Stephen Fry has very kindly recorded the links for this version of it. That was one thing that we learnt ourselves out of doing it at the Queen's Theatre last year.
Yeah, it's a little bit mockumentary blended with, sort of Paddington Green, one of those reality series about fun things and difficult things side by side. So, some things which are by nature, in the reality of them, they're amusing, and then the next minute they're a bit tragic. So in that our story has got both a serious side and hopefully a very funny side. Stephen seemed to fit the bill perfectly.
And I'm here with Sandra, who did see the concert production of Soho Cinders. What did you think of it?
I loved it. I thought it was great. What response did you get from that concert, just doing that one?
We had great feedback, and one of the most pleasing things is that it wasn't just appealing to a gay audience. It was working across the board and cross generational as well. My parents loved it, and they said, "Oh, we love the story," and so that was very pleasing. They're our harshest critics of, they're always there at the first night of everything we've done. They're usually there at the workshop of everything we've done. And this was kind of new on them, and they really enjoyed it. And they're in their 80s, so that was good. We knew it was going to appeal to a certain demographic of single young men. But no, it seemed to work across the board. But
we always wanted it to be a story that worked for everybody. I mean, the fact that we happened to have included some gay characters in it was a conscious decision for us. We started writing in 2000, for goodness sake, when we first had the idea anyway. When we felt after the success of Honk and winning the Olivier Award for that, we thought we could probably write anything we wanted for the first time in our lives, and it didn't need to be a commission, and we didn't need to be beholden to anyone. We could just write what we fancied. So we thought it'd be fun to write about London and celebrate it, because very few musicals recently have.
No, there was an article about this recently. When was the last London-based musical? There was things what they used to be. There was Oliver. There was one other one.
Espresso Bongo.
Espresso Bongo. That's what our agent reminded us of.
And Taboo.
I suppose Taboo is.
Taboo was, and I think that we can safely say that was the last great one, because I loved Taboo, and I think we both found Taboo quite inspiring in its way, because I think we were already embarked upon Soho when we saw that. Yeah. But we were interrupted by writing Mary Poppins, and then we wrote Betty Blue Eyes, and we wroat Soap Dish, and
Three Little Pigs.
And Three Little Pigs. So we've been very busy in the meanwhile. In fact, our productivity has rocketed in the last few years. In fact, we've got so many on the cards now that we literally some days we can't even remember the names of all of them. Now we're deep in writing Wind in the Willows as well. So it's a busy time. But what's lovely was proving at the concert that the story worked, that people got on board with the parallel to Cinderella, but that we didn't need to labour it, and that we can depart very substantially from it as we do with the story. It really is only the merest scribble of an outline of Cinderella, but enough so that when the narrator says, when Clodagh and Dana first appear, he says, Clodagh and Dana appear outside the gentleman's club where they work. They are sisters. And that immediately gets a laugh, and then they are ugly. Which gets a bigger laugh because we all know where we're going. Because they are archetypally nasty stepsisters to Robbie, who is the Cinderella character.
We also learned from the concert, and it was very interesting to talk to people and to read reviews, because there were one or two reviews that were done online and things. I know Scott Matthewman did a very interesting one where he sort of gave it 5 stars, but also pointed out where it could be improved. And it really actually, in this instance, gave us a chance to do some more work on the book. So Elliot and I have worked on the book a little bit more. George and I wrote a new song, which Michael Xavier and Jenna Russell get to sing in Act 1, because we felt the relationship between the mayoral candidate and his fiancée could do with, in the same way that we did with, I was saying this to the cast yesterday, nearly every show we've written where there's a couple involved who are going through some sort of crisis, we have written a song to explain why they got together in the first place. So we've done it in Mary Poppins with George and Winifred Banks when we wrote Being Mrs. Banks. In the second version of Being Mrs. Banks, you sort of realise why she fell for him in the first place. He's not just a martinet who puts her down the whole time. And we've done it with a lot of stories that we've written.
Well, the whole of Betty Blue Eyes, the whole sequence that Roland Dan invented of the Lionheart, the ballroom, when the bomb falls, was entirely their invention. But it's a fantastically useful backstory at the 11th hour of Act 1 to find out why these two very unlikely people are together. And actually, oh blimey, they really do love each other. He was a hero and he rescued her. No, it's fun to do.
So we wrote a new song since the concert called Remember Us, which is the two of them having a playful moment where they hark back to their university days, which is when they met, and sort of explains how they got together. And then you find out a little bit more as the act progresses.
Yeah, improved several of the plot lines, incorporated the Ugly Sisters a little bit more, incorporated the Lord Bellingham character.
Was it like developing technology? So you started this whole thing in 2000, the idea, and now with the iPads and the iPhones and everything.
It kept changing. We had originally, going way back many centuries ago.
Telegram.
It was a pigeon. The piece of olive wood it is. The very, very original idea I'd come up with was for a television 45-minute Tell Me on a Sunday type thing, and it was going to be set in an East End laundrette. It was going to be called Launderella. It was going to be a single mum who falls in love with a married politician, and that was the sketch. There was
that's called Twitter.
Yeah,
it was The Cinderella analogy was that a friend of hers had a cab company, took her to this party. Somebody had dropped off a ball gown to be dry cleaned, and she had to get back by midnight in order to dry clean it so it was ready for this woman the next morning. So it was, I sort of kind of got a vague idea, but it always was going to end with a song called They Don't Make Glass Slippers. That was the idea. Then when George and I started working on it properly in 2000, we fleshed the whole story out. We set it in Soho. It was set in an internet cafe. And part of the it was originally, and part of the story revolved around a blackmail attempt on this bisexual mayoral candidate. In fact, he was still a politician back then, wasn't he? In which a photograph was taken, and you didn't have to take it to Boots, but you did have to go and download it before you could do the blackmail thing. And now everybody has a phone that takes photographs, so we have constantly updated the story to a point.
More than that, we decided we wanted to stop having to update it, so we've made, hopefully, almost all the technology will work however it develops, but the basic, you're not going to be able to uninvent the internet. You're not going to be uninvent digital photography or digital communication, and that's really the only stuff that matters now. We removed the blackmail element and how that detail was
in
transferred.
a way it's made the ability to where you set things slightly more interesting, because you're no longer rooted in an internet cafe on a keyboard. You can be, the song Gypsies of the Ether, which is a song which our hero and the mayoral candidate sing as a duet. One is probably on an iPad and one is probably on his iPhone, but that might change. Come back to us in 10 years' time.
Depends if Apple give you permission or not.
Exactly. We should have gotten to sponsor the show, shouldn't we?
Well, you actually met Steve Jobs once, on a side note, George.
I did, yes, I know. It's sad that we will never meet him again. He was such an amazing man. Yeah, he's on the board at Disney, and so he came to Mary Poppins when it was previewing. Sadly, you hadn't got into town yet.
No, I didn't.
But I had a lovely 15-minute chat with him. I chatted to him the whole of the interval of the show.
And he got his email address. He said,
Yeah.
"Have you ever had a problem with an Apple product? Email me."
No, he did.
And he's
I mean, that's how he was.
Email Steve Jobs at Mac.com, presumably.
It was literally steve.jobs@mac. And I did send him an email, but what was so interesting is he genuinely wanted feedback, because I was talking to him about how it has really changed the way I work as a composer. And that, when it first started, and one had to have an Acorn computer to run Sibelius on, it was the only machine it would work on. It was rather brilliant, but then the computer couldn't do anything else for you, so your whole life was elsewhere. And then, anyway, but Steve was an amazing man, and it was a treat to have met him. His type do not come this way very often. I think really, truly, in his way, you can't walk into a bookshop without seeing that face in the #1 bestsellers. It's an extraordinary story, particularly Triumph to Disaster and Back Again.
See, like coming in Soho, because it will be playing at the Soho.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's wonderful
All
that
Compton Street
happened, and
around the corner.
that
Good,
was
isn't it?
literally, it was one of the things that I remember Mark Shenton said. Wouldn't it be great if they went to the Soho Theatre? Well, he didn't know that we were in discussion with the Soho Theatre at the time, and it all sort of lined up quite easily. And our friend Jonathan Buttrell, who's directing it, he had just arrived back because he moved to New York, and he did Fiddler on the Roof and Nine and
Man of No Importance.
The Light on the Piazza, is it called?
Piazza, yeah.
He did all those in America, and he'd arrived back in the UK the morning that George and I were having a coffee to decide who's going to direct our concert version, and he's such the ideal person for the job. So we've got him and Drewe McConey together as a team, staging and directing the show.
Our great friend Morgan Large designing it. He's an old friend of ours, but we've never worked together. And a certain Hugh Vanstone, don't know whether you've ever heard of him, lighting designer. I've known him for
And we've
a
got
year
the
or
sound
two.
guy from Adam Fisher from Betty Blue Eyes. He's coming along to
Yeah, well, he did the
We've been very
concert.
lucky. We've got a lot of friends who've come along to sort of help, because obviously in a 168 seat venue, there's not a vast budget and there's not a vast amount of money to pay people. So
Well,
people
no, it's a
kind of
fringe show, truly.
It is. It's a fringe production which will expand if it goes further than this.
And what we've tried to do is take a Donmar principle and pay the company and the band sort of MU and equity minimums, so that we feel like people are being employed, at least properly. And of course that's very tricky with a cast of 16 and a band of 5 in a 168 seat venue. You can do the math. It doesn't mean
maths.
Sorry. I did say that with inverted commas round it, Nick. Did you not see them? No. Oh, they're right there, look.
Isn't that funny how Americans say math?
Well, it's because they say, you do the math.
Yeah.
That's strange. And also the other bit of technology we're using is that we are, in fact, you will hear fiddles, and you will hear baritone sax, and you will hear all of this through the wonders of technology. So although we have 5 live musicians, we also have some tracked musicians as well, which is very exciting because we've not used this technology before.
Now, will Bill Byrne kill you?
Well, I don't think Bill will kill me, and indeed, I'm quite a sort of crusader for this, because I'm a great believer that you employ a band that's appropriate for the size of the cast and the space, and I think no one's ever had a live band of 5 at the Soho Theatre, so we're actually the biggest band they've ever had. You could never ever do it, and we never ever thought we would do it, so it was a one-off for the concert. But the fact is, we arrived by chance at a great sound that's, I think, very distinctive to the show. And I don't want to compromise that. And these days, everyone understands that. So again, providing we employ our live musicians and it's sort of appropriate to the space, then I think that's great. And if we were ever lucky enough to get bigger, then we would probably get our second percussionist back, probably get our woodwind player back, and we'd go up a bit. So that's my hope. But no, it's a tricky one. Bill's from a generation where that isn't part of his thinking. But he's also such an amazing man that I'm sure if he felt it was the right thing to do, he'd be doing it. So I feel great about it, and I'm very excited. I think it's going to sound glorious.
I look forward to seeing it because I haven't seen it.
Have you heard the score?
No.
Oh, goodness. Oh, you're in for a treat.
I've had a couple of live performances from George.
Right. Semi-live, yeah.
Just woken up performances.
It has been a lot of fun. It's a different. That's what's great about what we do. You somehow have to immerse yourself in the subject matter, and you find a voice lyrically, musically, for whatever it is you're doing. And with Soap Dish, which is this other new show we've got coming up next year, we've immersed ourselves in daytime American soap opera, and a style of
crap, basically.
Yes, we've submerged ourselves in crap and we've come out smelling of roses. We've done that, and now we're on Wind in the Willows with Julian Fellows. Again, that it's time and space specific, so you sort of find a voice for the animals that is in keeping with Kenneth Grahame, and this is contemporary. It's a much more contemporary score for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a conscious effort to never write the same show twice, because otherwise you really do feel like you're treading water. So this is the poppiest score we've ever written, and again we feel like it's kind of going back to our roots, because Tutankhamun and Just So both started quite poppy, because it's who we were when, at that time. It's what we listened to.
Thankfully he stopped wearing leg warmers though.
I have, yes. There's no Human League synthesizers or outfits or Mark Armand is not being channeled. But no, the other thing to say, which we haven't said, is that I think the thing that unlocked the show for us was inviting our friend Elliot Davis to come along and co-write the book, because that we hadn't hit a brick wall with the story, but we knew we needed to make some quite big changes after we workshopped Act 1 way back in 2002 or 3, and we brought Elliot Davis in, who's just of course had great success with Loserville up in West Yorkshire Playhouse, where it's having great success, which is hoping to find its way into London very soon. And we
Derek,
I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about. And he's been a joy and a treasure.
He's a great sounding board.
And we've got so used to having great book writers to work with.
We are. We've been very sport with our book writers. And although I've done Honk and Just So and Three Little Pigs now and Goldilocks on its way, I really think of myself as a lyricist more than a book writer. And I like having a go. I wrote some of Mary Poppins scenes.
Fine line between the two.
Yeah, there is. And as long as you've bonded with the other person enough that you're using the same voice, whether they're speaking or singing. And in this case, I had written a version of the show first, so Elliot came in, and then we're great mates, and we bounce ideas off one another, and we laugh an awful lot, and we have stupid ideas, and then we say, come on, let's be serious now and do it properly.
When we go down to France, in the end I have to shut the door between the kitchen and the room where the piano is, the sitting room next door, because they get so carried away, and Elliot has this fabulous thing that comes out, and I hear this daft laugh coming from the other room and a wheeze from him, and I know that it's going terribly well, but I can't actually concentrate.
It's very nice to find a co-writer like that.
We're in here still for the opening ceremony. Apparently there's a little sporting event somewhere down the hill in East London. But no, we are. I mean, that's our scary thing. We're head to head with the Olympics, and it was a very deliberate choice after a certain Lloyd Webber and one or two other people said, "Oh, blood and carnage! There'll be no one in the West End." We thought, what a load of nonsense. There's going to be an awful lot of tourists in London, an awful lot of Londoners who don't want to get involved with all the nonsense.
Who can finally get in to see shows because they're not all sold out. Yeah,
but it's going to be one of the most exciting times London's seen in anyone's living memory. And of course theatre's going to do brilliantly. You mark my words.
And all we want is Mary Poppins to come back.
Yeah, it's on its way.
Yeah,
she's taken the scenic route, but it is on its way. Cameron keeps talking about it, and it's really a case of waiting for a set to become available, because there was one set we did the first national tour of America, and that ended up in Mexico, and now the Mexicans have said, can we have it an open-ended run? So that set, which we thought might have come across the Atlantic, has now gone back to Mexico, and they're doing a Spanish version. The Australian...
Mary Poppins.
The Australian's the old touring one, isn't it?
The Australian set is the old British tour, and that's now finished in Perth, but it's now going to open in Auckland in November, and then go to Singapore. So, and whether it stays in the Far East or not, I don't know, but that set's now tied
Singapore's
out.
Quite an easy place to pop it in a container and get it back to London. No, I'm sure
Cameron
you'll see Mary Poppins.
He does talk about bringing it back again, and he's doing Miss Saigon next, isn't he, I think?
I think it'll time out quite well, because we need to let Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and a few other things open, and then Wind in the Willows, and then we'll see how it goes.
That's Wind in the Willows for those who didn't hear that.
Sorry, no, there's just a strange whisper in here, Nick. I think you're picking up odd overtones.
Jordan, thank you very much. I wish you all the best of luck with the production.
Thank you.
And we're sure it'll be
hope you enjoy it.
Witty and wonderful and everything else. And thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
So George Stiles and Anthony Drewe there talking about Soho Cinders, playing at the Soho Theatre for 6 weeks only from the 3rd of August. For more information, please visit www.sohocinders.com. Remember to join us for our 300th episode coming up on Tuesday. We look forward to that. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.